Hello, Alex.
Hi, Camille.
How are you today?
I'm very well. Very glad to be here finally.
Great. And thank you for traveling from London, the marketing goddess of Greece. Is that what we call it?
I love playing basketball. I wanted to become a professional basketball player. I started my professional career as a marketeer in Mars. I'm not going to say Greek goddess, but a bit of Greekness in me, yes. You need to have yellow background with red letters or things like that. And you're like, yes, it's happening in real life. And then I moved to Glasgow to do my master's degree. I made friends for life. It was also filled with whiskey. Put my hands up when I was
there a
young.
dream to be an NBA player?
Yes, it was a huge dream.
You and your friends, or just you?
I think my friend too, because he has the height, that's why.
Okay. I was in Abu Dhabi and I
Yes.
had a chance to meet Shaquille O'Neal.
No way. I stepped into a more of a digital role. I said to him, we need to have a digital department within marketing. He was like, go away.
That's another penny drop movement.
Yeah, I think that was a panic moment.
You have all these excuses, but
Yes,
you
yes.
need these people around you to say,
Push you. I was responsible for spices, Indian spices. I moved to the digital marketing team, and it was like, this is where I belong. I really want to have a digital word into my title.
so you sold on the title or sold on the company? Me, I see marketing now is a big business enabler.
You need to be on top of the trends. One of the great things that I moved to London is that I met my beloved husband, that he's from Ireland. Women coming back from mat leave, they need way more support.
There's a big turbulence at home, there's another turbulence at work, and a new mom is stuck in the middle.
And I will add all the germs from nursery, right? Another good thing is to have like a buddy and buddy up with a woman that came back from mat leave.
I would call you more a global citizen. Roots come and play a role whenever you need to. Hello, welcome to another episode of the kam.mj show. In this episode, we have our guest from Greece. Alex was born and brought up in Greece. She studied in Scotland for a year, moved back to Greece again, worked there for a few years, and got an opportunity to move to London. Alex has worked in companies like Coca-Cola and other fast-moving consumer goods. She has over 20 years of experience in digital marketing, building brands. My conversation with Alex is about her roots, the Greek culture, and how she adopted into an international environment. She's married to an Irishman, and she's a proud mom of a baby boy. We call her a global citizen now. Alex will be joining us on the show, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. Hello, Alex.
Hi, Camille.
How are you today?
I'm very well.
Welcome to the kam.mj show.
Very glad to be here finally.
Great. And thank you for traveling from London. My
Not a
second
problem.
international guest. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. And I know you are from Greece and
Yes.
you are in marketing.
Yes.
So the marketing goddess of Greece, is that what we call it?
Yeah, kind of. I don't consider myself as a Greek goddess, but yes.
Okay, so let's get the conversation going.
Very happy to.
So we can start with the Greek goddess.
Yes.
You born and brought up in Greece. So let's talk about your roots first.
Perfect. So yes, I was born and raised in Athens. I'm a family of two. Like I have a sister, an eldest sister, and my mom. It was a stay-at-home mom, but it was one of the things that I'm still to this day I'm thankful for it. But it's not only that; she was probably one of the few women in Greece that had an MBA back in the 70s. And my dad was, because now he's retired, a university professor in business, mainly accounting and finance. So a small family. We don't have huge relatives. My big fat Greek wedding. It was mainly the four of us, and we, as I said, we lived in Athens in the city center. I lived there for like 13 years, like my first 13 years. And it was great that, you know, it's such a buzz, and you walk down the street and you see Acropolis in front of you because it's like a straight line on that road, and different nationalities and cultures, where back in the 80s and 90s we weren't that open to different, to non-Greeks, if you like. They were not open. There weren't so many coming to Greece. Afterwards, that changed. So yeah, and then after I was 13, we moved further north of Athens, but still very much in love with that city. Um, so I was very fortunate that my parents took both my sister and I to private school, an American high school. So there I learned, of course, it was like everything was set up as a Greek school, but we did a lot of English, like literature, grammar, and so on, like many hours a day. And that helped me a lot being equipped for being here with you now, along with other things, like a lot of valuable things for life, and how to be yourself, how to be more confident through a lot of different activities and opportunities that that school gave us. But I think the biggest uh, gift, if you like, for me was my friends and my network of people that I have my best friends since then. And they're the ones that I turn to when I want to have fun, when things are rough, all of this. And I think the same goes for my sister. That is where um, she met and she was with her now husband. So it kind of set us for life, if you like. So yeah, we lived in Greece. The family was very business oriented, as you can say. Um, my my family helped us a lot to kind of figure out what we want to do in life. Um, we might want to talk about it later, but you know, I love playing basketball. I wanted to become a professional basketball player, and my parents were like, "Nope, no way, you're gonna be broke." And you know, back in the 90s, of course, being a woman basketball player meant nothing. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do my second best thing, which was marketing. Was in my head when I was 9, 10, 11. It was that marketing is advertising. So I was in love with advertisements like the Absolute Vodka back in the 90s, that it was taking the shapes of different things and buildings and so on. Iconic, actually, buildings. Or Silk Cat, that it was that cut on the silk for the cigarettes, and it was still is iconic. Um, but then I realized that that's not for me, and we're gonna discuss it way more. That I was more into the client side, that it was marketing, um, and yeah, I mean, it is interesting talking to you of how I start realizing like how many things can kind of define me, if you like, on the way. So I did my bachelor's in Athens in business administration. I wanted to have a wider view of business because I was like, I really want to do marketing, but what if I don't like it? So I wanted to understand also how the whole business works, and supply chain and logistics and things like that. Even law, if you like. So I did that, and then in 2004 I did my master's degree in Glasgow. That we're gonna discuss it as the next step. Um, and between my bachelor's and my um, master's, I started my professional career as a marketeer in Mars. But we will talk about it later as my CV unfolds. But as a root perspective, being in a family that we got exposed to a lot of different things. My dad loves us to go, and still does, to go out in the nature, go to the sea, spend time in, as he says, clean air, and understanding more of, you know, what's around you. That was very interesting, and I'm trying to do the same, and I think my sister does the same. So yeah, I'm not gonna say Greek goddess, but a bit of Greekness in me, yes.
So growing up in Greece in 80s and 90s, And you mentioned you have elder sister. How was it when you were, let's say, 8 or 10, going to school? How was Greece at that time, and how was your growing?
Greece was in an interesting time. There was a lot of money to be spent from being in the European Union and so on. I mean, you have read everything about Greekonomics and spending money left, right, and center. That's why in 2008, 9, we were in that situation. So there was that booming, if you like. People were um, having jobs. There was more infrastructure. Athens changed a lot because of the Olympics in 2004. So it was a nice place to grow up, and I think it was still had that, and still has that, very family oriented. So you had your grandparents close, you had friends like my mom's friends and so on. So it was that family feeling that I still carry with me throughout. So yeah, that was in a nutshell the background.
Okay, Greek food is very popular, and I love Greek food.
Yeah,
What's your favorite?
Greek salad.
Okay.
I think it's the most complete balanced meal that exists. So you have great vegetables or fruits. A lot of people say tomato is a fruit. Tomatoes, cucumbers, olives, peppers is just phenomenal. You get a huge chunk of feta cheese, which is the goddess of cheeses, and there you go, and some bread, and you're set up for your meal. So definitely anytime, all the time,
Mhm.
Greek salad.
Greek salad. And Greece is also a very popular destination for tourists.
Yeah.
So, from a native Greek person, what would you recommend?
Um, First of all, I have to confess, I'm getting seasick in the boats, so I haven't done a lot of island hopping or very remote islands. I've done the ones that they have an airport mainly, or the ones that are very close. Like my threshold is around 4 hours. So yes, I have seen a couple of the islands, and they're beautiful. But I have a very soft spot about mainland Greece. There are areas in the north side of Greece that you feel like you're up in the Alps or like in Austria, and then you drive half an hour later and more, and you're in one of these amazing beaches and see that you see in ads and come and live your myth in Greece. My favorite place is in the south of mainland, which is Peloponnese, and there is this area that is called Mani, and is a peninsula. It's very wild and rough and dry, and there's stones and hay, and that's it. But I think it's one of the magnificent places that I have spent time and my holidays. So Google it, find it out, and you'll see that it's great there.
So, after doing your bachelor's,
Yeah.
um, where did that take you after?
Mm. So as I said, I had my first job with Mars, the chocolate. So I was lucky enough. My aunt actually is my mom's aunt, so it's like kind of my great aunt, if you like. So still is my biggest mentor. She was one of the first marketing directors in Greece. So she had done phenomenal things and TV ads and so on in the 80s and 90s. And she always guides me and always helps me. So she was the person that actually said to me, look, speak to people in advertising agencies, have a coffee and understand what they're doing, and from the client side, and you start realizing what you want to do. And through her support, I met my manager in Mars, Nectaria, that she wanted somebody for like 10 months or so to work as a temp in their marketing department. We had the interviews, they liked me, I liked them, we started off. It was my first job that it was proper marketing. Whatever you do on textbooks, it was like, oh my god, if you want to stand out on an offer, you need to have yellow background with red letters or things like that. And you're like, yes, it's happening in real life. So I was lucky enough to be involved in a lot of projects. Some of them they gave me the opportunity to lead them myself, and it was her, that manager that I had, that she kind of gave me that freedom pass of, I trust you, go ahead, take responsibility and take that project on you. And that gave me that confidence of, look, I can learn and I can be somebody or do something in marketing. And it was a great start of, if you want to call what I'm doing a career. So that lasted for 8 9 months. Then broke off for like a month or two to be a volunteer for the Olympic Games in Athens. Was another amazing experience. And then I moved to Glasgow to do my master's degree.
So you lived in Greece with your parents, your sister,
Yeah.
studied there, got a job there. What made you go to Glasgow?
That's a fair question. So first of all, especially back then, in order to get a good job in Greece, you had to have a master's degree. And master programs, the Greek master programs, were starting to be developed or exist. So it was that trend that everybody would go to the UK, especially for business. So I wanted to go to the US, but it was a bit far. And I was like, "Oh, if I go there, I stay there, and I don't know, da da da." So, and also I had my dad in the background because my dad spent a good years in the States for his master's and his PhD. And he would always say, I would never come back, but I came back because his parents were getting older. So I was like, oh, how can you do that? How can you live one life and move to the other? So anyhow, I had all of this in my head. So I was like, what is the European version of the best master's degree in marketing? And it was in Glasgow, University of Strathclyde. And at that time, it was international marketing because keep in mind, it was 2004. So that meant that we only had websites. We didn't have big e-commerce sites. Amazon was starting to have a international presence. You didn't have any social media. So it was all around how can you take marketing and the principles of marketing and apply them into different cultures, different languages, different environments, plus how you can use things like e-commerce. And e-commerce was like, wow, what is that? So great year in Glasgow. I gained a lot of experience, mainly because of being with non-Greeks and some Greeks. I made friends for life, and you know, it helped me understand how it is to work with people that they come from different backgrounds, from different cultures, but you all work towards the same goal. So a fascinating year. I'm gonna say it was also filled with whiskey. Put my hands up. Great quality, and it's a great city to be a student. And that's the other reason, that it was a personal reason. I didn't want to go to London because I knew that it would kind of swallow me, and I would just be out and about constantly, which I was in Glasgow, but it's more contained, if you like. So great music scene, great jazz scene, everything was great, and you could walk around everywhere. And even though they were saying Glasgow was rough, I felt very safe and had probably the best year ever. So that's why I was there.
Nice. And the basketball.
The
Yeah, that
basketball. So yeah, I think in Glasgow was the last year, if you like, that I played basketball, like tried to be in the university's team. I brought my best friend there, and we were trying to kind of be active and so on. And then I started to realize, Alex, that ship has sailed because it's been too long for training every day and things that I was doing when I
was
was
there a
younger.
dream to be an NBA player?
Yes, it was a huge dream.
You and your friends, or just you?
Yeah, I think my friend too, because he has the height. That's why.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, but it was always, even before I met my amazing friend in Glasgow. It was always my dream, and still, like when you talk about NBA, my eyes like light up, and I'm just like, yes, it's amazing. But back in the day, was you would look at people like even Greek men basketball players that they are amazing, and now we have like Giannis the freak in NBA. That wasn't even possible at that time. They
Yeah.
were like, it was the dream for everybody. So yeah.
Last week I was in Abu Dhabi and I had
Yes.
a chance to meet Shaquille O'Neal.
No way.
First, I could not believe that this guy is right next to me having breakfast, and like, oh my god.
Wow, did you see
There,
my jaw drop?
I know there was a moment like I know this guy, but I don't remember who is it. It took me a moment to understand, but oh wow, you talk about basketball, and then I straight away get this memory.
Was he sitting?
He was sitting having breakfast, and like I have seen this guy before, but where? And I could not get that recollection of
Yeah.
my thoughts.
If he would
But
stand up, you would have been like, oh yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So to summarize your experience of international marketing in
Hmm.
Glasgow, outside of your professional learnings, what was your personal learning?
Um, yeah, it was the first time that I came out of like my bubble in Greece, aside from any personal travel that I have done, right? And I worked with people from different backgrounds and cultures and different ages. It was interesting because we had a lot like people younger than me that came straight off their bachelors and they were even younger, and older people. And you could see the different dynamics and so on. But the one thing is that we're all the same. We're human beings with the same needs, the same goals, if you like, in life, and we want to succeed and we want to get out something out of this. So it doesn't matter the stereotypes because as I say, Greeks smash plates, and I'm not gonna smash your lovely mug. What it matters is that we're all the same. It's just the our culture brings a couple of characteristics at the forefront. So you I will talk a lot about my Greekness, which is like, oh, I'm way more open, I'm upfront, I speak my mind, I'm very passionate, and so on. That, you have to play up and down, but as a human being, I'm the same as you. So that was a big, big learning.
So where does your masters take you after?
So back to Athens, but trying to find a job with a big ego on my like big head, because I had this lovely job in Mars. I did well. I got really good feedback and all sorts. But then, and then I did my master's degree. So I was like, yeah, great. I'll go back to Athens and red carpet. And no, like the market was in a weird state. Um, and it took me a couple of months more than I wanted. But then I landed a job with the biggest Greek IT company that they were not only manufacturing computers and desktops and so on, but they are the suppliers, the official, if you like, partners of like Microsoft, Dell, and so on. Um, and the company was predominantly B2B, so selling to small computer shops back in the day. But they wanted to launch in B2C or DTC now, and sell from computers and accessories to digital cameras to printers, you name it. So I was part of that team that we launched the website behind it, that it had the whole online shop and a lot of CRM and cross sell and things like that. But I think what this job gave me out of nowhere, it's that deep understanding of how tech works, how developers work and talk, how long it takes to do something, because you're like, come on, write that code quickly. No, it needs testing, it needs things. So it gave me that access to this world that it has made my life so much easier, moving forward in my next jobs and roles and so on. So I did that for like a year and a half. But always I had this thing of I need to go and work in big FMCGs. I need to go and work in big brands. So one of my colleagues from Mars, she was recruiting, and she was like, would you be interested to come to the interview process? So I went through, I was successful. So I started working in her team. Lola is her name. And she was I was in a rough state of in personally. And she helped me a lot by giving me that dream job, if you like. And I was so eager to be like, I'm gonna make it. So I started as an assistant brand manager into a snacks brands, and then I moved throughout these 4 years that I was working up to junior brand manager. So Coca-Cola Hellenic bottler, which is the one that even in Ireland also bottles the Coke. It's a big multinational company, more than 30 markets, and the beauty around it is that in Greece that I was working, you could work with local brands, so you didn't have anything coming from global. You were actually the maker. So I got experience of launching new products from insights to actually selling it. Um, uh, Huge productions on TV ads, everything above the line, below the line. But the main thing was because of my experience with my previous job on digital and websites and so on, I stepped into a more of a digital role, which is not a digital role, digital projects. So aside from my brands, I was helping other brands also, like building their websites. Um, when social media starting to become a thing, like Facebook launching the social presence of the biggest juice brand that we have in Greece, and it was like more of a heritage brand of how you can revamp it into social, and all these great things. That all of a sudden, I found myself becoming that digital person and that digital knowledge. So I started to like it a lot. So I was like, there's something there. And I remember I said to my manager at that time, I said to him, we need to have a digital department within marketing. He was like, "Ah, go away," kind of thing. That it's too ahead of its time, which now they do have, and they have for many years. But that gave me that confidence of this is something that I really like, and I'm really passionate and you can say good in marketing, but I'm way better when it's digital marketing. So years passed. I was happy. I was progressing. I even got promoted. I even got my own mobile phone and a laptop. Like I was getting there up the ladder. But economic crisis hit Greece and things starting to plateau. And I was like, there won't be any promotion, there won't be any development as such. There was this saying of, "Oh, Alex, you need to thank God that you have a job." And I remember saying, "I want to thank God for many other things, but not that," because it kind of felt like rude, if you like. So it kind of like the penny dropped at that point, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, what do I want to do with my career, my professional progression? So I was single at that time. I didn't have kids, pets, or anything. Everybody was around me healthy in my family and so on. So I was like, oh, I'll start looking abroad. Three of my best friends were in London already. Either stayed throughout their studies and they stayed there, or they moved afterwards. And one of my friends, that when I moved to London, she moved from London to New York. She was working from the media side, client side, and she's like, Alex, I'm gonna be here to help you and so on. So she was a massive help on my CV and helping me get through and get the interviews and so on. So it kind of felt like a natural step to come to London. So I was flying back and forth, meeting with recruiters, which was a great idea at the time. If you think that we didn't have LinkedIn in the capacity that we have it now, that you can
Yeah.
connect with anybody anywhere. And then interviews were starting to crop up, and I was flying back and forth. I got a lot of no's, a lot of experience on really bad interviews that I have done. And it's like when you come out, you're like, I'm not going to do that again.
Mm.
And then in August 2011, I got a yes. And then you're like, oh, so that means I need to move.
That's another penny drop movement.
Yeah, I think that was a panic moment
Panic
movement. Yeah.
movement, yes.
I remember I was with two of my best friends in a Greek island, and we were in a beach bar and I got the call. So I was barefoot. So I had to walk out and I ended up walking up a hill barefoot while talking to the recruiter telling me that I got accepted and that's the offer and so on. And I don't remember how I walked. Like my feet were like bleeding almost. And I will never forget that time because it was that foot on the door that I can change and I can pursue something else. Um, so I took the decision. I had a lot of support from colleagues in Coke, like especially three colleagues of mine, that they were like, "Go for it, chase it, and we're here for you." And also that defining moment at the airport that I was boarding the plane and I said to my sister, I'm not going. That's it. Like the nerves and anxiety were have taken over. And my sister was like, nope, you have to go and you have to try it. You put a lot of effort. And it is that defining moment that if my sister was saying no, stay, think about it, I would be like, yeah, I would have stayed. And I owe her that, and I owe her the how you say what came after that and how the whole series of my life is being
Yeah.
played out. So yeah, I think this is the switch now from roots to routes and leaving home and the nest.
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of things which are really important for me is those penny drop moments you talk about. They are so important to rethink of what you're doing with your life at a different capacity, personal and professional. And those penny drop moments are kind of kick at your back to say you are better than what you are right now,
Hmm.
but you need to go and do something about it. And the second thing you mentioned about having that network of really good friends, really good siblings
Mm.
who can push you when you sometimes doubt yourself, that am I able to do it,
Yeah.
or you know what, I feel homesick. You have all these excuses, but
Yes.
you
Yeah.
need these people around you to
To kick
say,
push you.
Alex, this is good for you,
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is what you want to be.
Yeah.
You may not be thinking through right now with
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
with the emotions you are going through, but you need those people around you to push you through as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, and I think my sister attitude always is like get a grip. She won't say it, but it's the whole her whole body saying it.
Yeah.
So I think that bit of get a grip helps a lot to
Yeah.
take that next step.
Yeah, so that's very very interesting about your roots, and there's an element of route where you went to Glasgow, but
Yeah,
you came back to your roots because you still want to be close to family, and this is who I am, being a
yeah,
proper Greek. I belong here, but then there's a moment come where what, like there is a bigger world out there, and I need to explore that
yeah,
world, and that's where your route starts.
yeah,
So Alex, where the routes take you after you had a bit of a flavor of the international world, you
yeah,
back to Greece again, and the penny drop movement bring you back outside
yeah,
Greece again. So where you end up then?
yeah. So I moved to London in October 2011. It's hard to believe that it's almost 13 years. I go like, I'm not there for long, and it's like, you are. So my first job and my big opportunity, if you like, because it was that foot on the door, was with an ethnic food company. So I worked. I was responsible for spices, Indian spices, for first and second generation Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi people. So all these products that they are sold into like small shops, ethnic shops, and not your supermarket. And then I moved into the Patak's curry paste, but again for that audience rather
Hmm.
than the ones you find at Tesco's, um, which was like eye opening because if you think that I moved to a new place, yes, I knew London as a tourist, but it's completely different when you start living there. I was living off with my friends on their couch, and then my friend moved to New York, so I used her room. But again, I had to find my own place. I had to start learn how to drive the other way, not the wrong way, the other way, and all these things. And then all of a sudden, my audience are people that I kind of know, but I don't like. Is only big revealing moment was in my master's degree, when I had friends from India or Pakistan, or when I went to India for 3 weeks for my beloved friend's wedding. So, and that was it. So I had to learn that audience. I had to spend time with them. They don't even speak English, some of them. They live in like small, close communities. So it was throwing in the deep, if you like, and also speak English instead of Greek at work, like write an email that is proper at work. And again, it was that moment that I was like, I need to evaluate also how much Greek I am, how loud or open, or
Yeah.
when I say loud, I mean outspoken, right? Not loud in volume and all this. So again, I had to adjust into the new environment.
But this is where your masters come and play a role, because you had that exposure
Yeah.
with international students, and this is where you kind of learn how you're going to work in different projects and assignments. And now
Yeah.
here is a real life for you.
Yeah, you're right. And it hadn't clicked until I left that job. And I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah, it was a great, if you like, school for me because it introduced me to that um, new way of working, new setup, and so on. But I still had that bug of I need to go into a bigger corporation. I need to work on big brands. I need to work on big, 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 big. And I think it also comes with my upbringing, right? We were always like, oh, big companies, Procter and Gamble, your Colgate, your this and that. So I always had that, if you like, niggle. So I landed a job with Johnson and Johnson in the UK, but it was a regional role for Northern Europe. I was working for Compeed, the plasters, and again, I got myself super heavily involved with digital. And I did some really cool things back in the day, like weather reactive campaigns. That when the weather was good, we would switch off on everything. That we have never done it before in the business, and all these things. But I was always very vocal that I love digital. So 2 years after starting there, um, I moved to the digital marketing team, and it was like, this is where I belong. So I worked in a really cool project. It was the master brand for Johnson and Johnson. How you bring all their brands under the same website, creating occasions, needs to kind of bring products and brands together. And it had proper CRM behind it, coupons that was linked also to CRM and in store. So it gave me a great experience of managing dotted line people. Like I had a lot of people that were working on the project, but they weren't reporting to me, which I find way more difficult than having direct reports. And great exposure of how CRM how is working, how the platforms are working. Like I knew about Adobe, for example, but I hadn't worked on it, and then all of a sudden I had my hands into like looking into it. That leads you back to my first actual job in back in the IT company. That again is like that confidence of I understand the language. So there were 4 amazing years there, but I could see that there was this separation of traditional marketing and digital marketing, which I don't think exists. Like we are marketeers, you need to know digital, you need to know the rest. We all work towards the same business goals. So, but nonetheless, this is where we are. It was more of, oh, if you want to progress, you need to go back to traditional marketing. And I knew deep inside that I wanted to do digital. So, and a lot of other things happened with restructuring and so on. So I started looking for another job to progress, because I always had in the back of my head that I didn't move to this country to just do a 9 to 5 job. I want to progress and I want to see where can I go? How far can I push it, right? So then I moved and I worked for Pladis, which is used to call United Biscuits, which they have McVitie's and Jacob's Crackers and so on. So I was responsible for Jacob's Crackers, and I did a lot of digital cool stuff. But I was like, I really want to have a digital digital word into my title. Like, I don't want to be a senior brand manager of this or a marketing manager. And again, it's not about titles, but I wanted to be identified as a digital marketeer. So one of my closest friends that we worked together in J&J, Monica, had moved to GSK. And there was a role that it was global digital marketing manager for professional marketing. Never had a clue about professional marketing. I have done a bit at J&J, but nothing that I knew about. But it was global, never done it. And it had digital in it. Like, yay. And huge, respectable company and reputable. And I was like, that's it. So
So you sold on the title or sold on the company?
on everything. I was like, it ticks a lot of the
Yeah.
boxes. So I got the job 6 years ago. I'm still in the expert team, professional marketing. Yeah, of course, my role has evolved, and I had a team, and you know throughout the years, and managed to progress and become a director and so on. But it's that moment that you're like, yes, this is where I want to be, because when I started, we were essentially two people trying to bring that digital transformation and how we talk to especially dentists, hygienists, GPs, pharmacists, and so on through digital channels, and how you reach them and how you talk to them and what's the right message. And that was one part of the challenge. The biggest challenge was also how internally you can convince senior management, the business, that, and the markets, because we are global, that a dentist is a person. He doesn't live in a cave, not cage, cave, and they have a smartphone, and they are on LinkedIn, they are on Facebook. But it's like how you reach them at the right time with the right message on their professional capacity. And it's a great journey, because we started with few markets, test and learns, and small steps, and now every market actually does it and they get it. And the team that we have in the global team has expanded, and there is all this appetite to find more and understand more and so on. So, and here we are.
So let me summarize your marketing journey.
Yes.
We talk about 2004, 2005,
Yeah.
where marketing was a slow progress, where TV ads and billboards
Yeah.
were the marketing. And now we are talking about social media has a huge influence, and now you are targeting people through LinkedIn and Facebook
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Instagram. So how do you summarize that, say, 20 years of that evolution of marketing?
Overall, you mean? I think the social media situation boom, if you like, um, it is it was it is fundamental for the vitality of a business or the brands. And we see that. You see, like the rise of influencers, for example. All of a sudden you have all these millionaires, billionaires, that you're like, what are you actually selling? I think that has made a big change. And but I'm not going to talk about internet, because that was from the end of the 90s.
Yeah.
But you can see that companies that they have embraced, if you like, digital, and embraced change in some shape or form, they win at some point. I think that the challenge that I see now is how you can continue being a pioneer at the forefront with your strategies and campaigns and activities as you were 3 years ago.
Yeah. So marketing to me is a big enabler. Like, I come from tech background,
Yeah.
so to me, I see marketing now is a big business enabler. And as you said, right, if you want to be at the forefront, you need to embrace the marketing in whichever way is coming
Mhm.
to you. And of course, it is rapidly, there's big evolution coming in marketing as well. So from your experience and from your advice, somebody who want to start into marketing, want to do a let's say bachelor's or master's,
Yeah.
where would they start?
Yeah, and also, like, somebody doesn't have to have a bachelor's or master's on business or marketing. I think it's more of was more of a Greek thing, that you need to work what you study, right? Especially in the UK, you see all different backgrounds and studies, and then they become marketeers or in business. But I think what I've learned, and I learned that in university, is like you need to be rounded as a personality. So you need to know what's happening out there, right? Even from why Kardashians are so popular,
Mm-hmm.
right? Up to things like what Tesla is doing and the new model that is out. And I'm not saying to go into extreme details and you be a subject matter expert, just to be a rounded person and go out. Arts are important, music, concerts, things that make you get different elements that it will help you become more grounded and understand more what's happening around you. So that's one thing, and I think that's important for everyone, but in marketing you need that because it's you need to be on top of the trends, which is the other thing. You need to understand what is coming and what is happening, like AI, for example. We can talk about it for years, right? For
Yeah.
hours. It's you might not be able to use it now in your current job, but you need to know what it is about. You know, this bit about, oh, this is too advanced for me, that doesn't work. You need to understand what is coming and how it will impact your job. So I think they're the same thing with a bit of an iteration.
Okay. I'm going to move this conversation from a marketing guru and a passionate about
Not a
marketing
guru, but yes.
to more a personal level.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, you are a proud mom of a very cute baby boy. So I want to ask you, how did you make that decision of being such passionate about marketing and now get into family and
Hmm.
start your family? So do you want to talk a bit more about it?
Yeah, and it's brilliant question. In a sense of a lot of people that know me, but they don't actually know all the details. They think that I'm a workaholic, and the only thing that I do in life is work, which is not true as such. Like I really love my personal life, like with my friends, go out, concerts, for example, or time for me. It's not everything around work. I'm not saying that I do a great job, but I'm trying to balance it out. Having kids and a family was always in my mind, but it was never the ultimate goal. Like I have to do it. If I was lucky enough, I was lucky enough. So one of the great things that I moved to London is that I met my beloved husband. That he's from Ireland, so you can see what's happening in this household, full of Irish passion and Greek passion and like stubbornness across. And we created our own family before we had our son. So it for me, that was the important thing, to find somebody that not only you love and you adore and all these things, is that makes you feel home. And that was that's what I wanted. So it wasn't only my career, and it wasn't only working. I'm not saying that there weren't times that we were on holidays, I was on my phone responding to emails. I do that, but that's a different story. And of course, having our little guy, it was a long process, but it was a happy ending. So he's 1 year and a half, and that made me take less than a year off work. It was the first time to have that gap. We talk about 20 years, if you think about it, is minus 10 months, right? Which was the first for me, along with motherhood, that any other woman goes through all this roller coaster of emotions. What am I doing? Who am I? What is this? What is this little person doing next to me? And so on.
Yeah. How was your experience after you gone through maternity leave and you are so passionate about marketing and digital and your career over 20 years? How was that break affect you or impact you going back to work afterwards?
Yeah, in a sentence, it wasn't what I was expecting. I thought that I didn't have a break, in a sense of when the little guy was asleep during my mat leave, I was reading all about AI, business cases, this, that, and the other. And I felt, talking with my manager and my colleagues fairly often, that I was okay. And so I went back and I was like, right, from day one, I will deliver and I will add value, as nothing has changed. But a lot of things have changed. And aside from me going through these big change and a big gap in my work life, if you like, plus the business was going through a lot of change when I joined. Um, it wasn't pleasant, to be honest with you. And in a sense of, I wanted to go in and start working, and it wasn't possible. There were things that changed, and I needed more hand holding that I thought I I wanted or needed, if you like, and I didn't know how to express it. And I realized that, women coming back from mat leave, they need way more support than either tell you or you think. And it's interesting because a colleague of mine that she was working in my team and she went off on mat leave before I got pregnant. When she came back, I was all over her. Like I was like, I'll help you on this. And I thought I overdone it, right? Um, which I hope she doesn't. She agrees with me. She doesn't say the opposite. But um, through instinct, I kind of provided that support that, don't worry, I'll tell you which meeting to go or what to do. And it's not forever, it's the first month or two. So, yeah, I think the level of hand holding and the level of getting my teeth stuck into things, it was what made it way more difficult for me to return than I was anticipating.
So what would you suggest, or you know people who are going on mat leaves, what one thing you would suggest to businesses or companies that they can focus on, especially a new mom with a small baby?
Yeah,
There's already a huge emotional roller coaster, and then you come to a workplace after 9 months or 12 months, you have changes in the businesses, changes with management, and so on, right? So there's a big turbulence at home, there's another turbulence at
yeah,
work,
yeah,
and a new mom is stuck in the middle, right?
true.
So it is very hard for the person to have life at home with a small baby and another life at work which has things
Yeah.
going on. So how do you think that turbulence can be eased?
And I will add all the germs from nursery, right? Because, for example, I was sick for 9 consecutive weeks. So even if you want to deliver work,
Yeah.
you cannot. You are almost dead. Um, I think businesses, most of the businesses, especially in the UK, have programs for return to work and HR policies and so on. And there's a lot out there, and helplines and all these things. Or the other good thing is to have like a buddy and buddy up with a woman that came back from mat leave a year ago, and she can
Yeah.
tell you her experience and so on. All of these are awesome, but I think what makes the difference is also the people element. Of course, your manager, how she or he will manage your return to work, how much hand holding or open to be like, tell me what else you need, but also the people in the team. And I found that very, very important, because even small things, to say, oh, Alex, by the way, while you were away, that this thing happened, that's the background. So you kind of are part of it. And it makes you feel that, oh yeah, I'm being valued again. I'm part of that team. And slowly you start feeling like, oh, I can do this. So and I think what people need to be mindful of is not something that takes forever. It takes like the first couple of months and maximum. So it's not such hard work as we think it is when women come back from mat leave.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting topic you talk about, and thank you for being open and sharing your experience about return after the mat leave. So I want to ask you one very specific question I ask to all my guests. With your experience, being Greek by birth, lived most of your life there, but also have a lot of international experience, living in London, married to an Irish guy. So I would call you more a global citizen than a Greek. Of course, your roots are Greek as it is. What message do you want to give to our audience from your experience, from your values, from roots and routes?
I think the bit that I said, that we're all the same, we're all human and we have the same needs. But it's very important to know where you're coming from, your roots. So we talk about my Greekness, and I think it helps you first distinct from the rest, but also helps you progress and become whatever you think it's success. So if you feel that's how you want to be successful in something, your backgrounds and your culture and so on, it's a great place to start, if you like. Plus it's a great icebreaker, because you start going through the stereotypes of smashing plates and dancing everywhere, and it starts the conversation in an international environment, that potentially people don't know you and so on. So yeah, think that everybody is the same, we're all the same needs, but where you're coming from can help you go somewhere faster. But also you need to be mindful of the others, that they're coming from a different background, and you need to open your eyes and ears to understand it and embrace it.
Yeah, your roots are so important and so valuable. It's always there with you, either you think of them or not, but your mind is
Yeah,
always kind of structured in a way that your roots come and play a role whenever
yeah,
you need to be.
yeah.
No, that's
And
great.
you don't realize it
Ex-
until you
ex-
have a conversation for this podcast.
exactly. That's great. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Alex, thank you for your time. And I enjoyed the conversation so much, especially about your journey from Greek to Glasgow, back to Greek, and back to London again. So, thank you for coming to the show today. And I hope you have a good rest of the day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great.